My best friend's wedding toast ended with, "And I'm sorry I've been sleeping with the groom for 6 months." The champagne glass slipped from my hand, shattering across the polished floor of the reception hall. 200 guests fell silent as my best friend Melissa stood at the microphone, her face streaked with mascara, still holding her own glass in a trembling hand. She looked directly at my sister Claire, the bride, her voice breaking as she repeated those impossible words. "I'm so sorry, Claire," she whispered into the sudden quiet. "I couldn't let you marry him without knowing the truth." My sister Claire stood frozen in her white dress, her new husband Derek beside her with his mouth hanging open. The string quartet had stopped playing. Someone's aunt started crying. The fairy lights that had seemed so magical moments ago now felt like spotlights on everything falling apart. I pushed through the crowd toward the head table, my heart hammering. Melissa had been Claire's best friend since kindergarten. She'd helped plan this entire wedding, spent months organizing everything. She'd been the maid of honor, for God's sake. This had to be some kind of mistake that we could somehow fix before it destroyed my sister's life completely. "Melissa, what are you doing?" I hissed as I reached her. She looked at me with red, desperate eyes. "I'm setting her free, Jordan. That's what I'm doing." Her voice was steadier now, resigned, like she'd already accepted whatever consequences were coming and had made peace with them in some twisted way. Derek suddenly lunged toward the microphone, his face flushed red. "She's lying. She's mentally unstable. Everyone knows that. Claire, baby, you know she's been jealous of us since we got engaged. She's been obsessed with me, following me around, making up stories." His voice was loud, aggressive, but I caught the edge of panic underneath it. "Since January?" Melissa cut him off, her voice amplified through the microphone. "Since you told me you were going to call off the wedding? Since you said you loved me and were just waiting for the right time to tell her? Since you promised me we'd be together once you figured out how to break it to her gently?" The room erupted in gasps and whispers. Claire's face had gone from white to gray. She gripped the edge of the table like it was the only thing keeping her upright, her knuckles white against the ivory tablecloth. The centerpiece of white roses trembled with the pressure of her grip, petals starting to fall onto the place settings. "I have texts," Melissa continued, pulling out her phone with shaking hands. "I have hotel receipts. I have photos of us together that are very clearly not platonic. Derek, you told me she didn't make you happy anymore. You said the wedding was just going through the motions, that you didn't know how to stop it without hurting everyone." "Stop!" Claire's voice rang out, surprisingly steady. Everyone froze. She stepped away from Derek and walked slowly toward Melissa, her train dragged behind her, the delicate lace catching on chair legs as guests scrambled to move out of her path. For a horrible moment, I thought my sister was going to hit her. Instead, she took Melissa's phone gently and scrolled through it, her face remaining completely blank as she looked at screen after screen of evidence. Text messages with heart emojis, photos of them together, receipts from romantic dinners on nights Derek had told Claire he was working late. Finally, she handed the phone back. "How long have you known you were going to do this?" she asked quietly. Melissa's face crumpled. "I told myself I wouldn't. I tried to stay away. But this morning, helping you get dressed, listening to you talk about your future with him, about the children you want to have, I couldn't let you pledge your life to a man who's been lying to you for months." Claire nodded slowly, then turned to Derek, who had gone pale. "The business trip to Seattle in February?" she asked. He said nothing. "The conference in Austin in April?" Still nothing. "Your brother's bachelor party in Miami?" Melissa whispered. "I was in Miami." Those 4 words hung in the air like an execution. My sister laughed then, a sharp, bitter sound that made everyone flinch. She reached up and removed her veil, let it fall to the floor, then pulled off her engagement ring and wedding band. She walked over to Derek and pressed them into his palm. "Claire, wait," he started. "No," she said simply. "You don't get to explain." She turned back to Melissa. "We're done. After 20 years of friendship, we're done. Not because you slept with my husband, but because you let me plan a wedding. You helped me pick this dress. You held my hand this morning and told me I was making the right choice. That's the betrayal I can't forgive." Melissa sank to the floor, sobbing. Claire looked around at the stunned guests. "Well, the food's already paid for, and the bar's open for 3 more hours. Someone make sure my mother doesn't kill anyone." Then she walked out, still in her wedding dress, her head held high. I found her in the parking lot, sitting on the curb. I sat down beside her without a word. "You know what the worst part is?" she said. "I'm not even surprised. Deep down, I knew something was wrong. I just didn't want to see it." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "Melissa did me a favor. Better now than 5 years from now." We sat there as the sun set, 2 sisters in formal wear, while inside, the party carried on without the bride and groom.